Hi, everyone. Welcome to our latest edition of the NuRAN wireless video series. I want to introduce to you, I'm sure that you've seen before, Francis Letourneau, our CEO, who's in Quebec City, Canada, and Jim Bailey, our CFO, who's in London, England. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everybody.
Congratulations. Obviously, let's deal with it right away out of the bag. The cat's out of the bag. You guys booked a tremendous deal that was announced on Monday with Orange, a massive telco company in the DRC for 2,000 sites. And obviously, as you can tell from the stock, the investment public has reacted very positively to this. So congratulations.
Thank you very much, Frank. Thank you to Jim as well. Your support there has been tremendous. So yeah, fantastic news for us, for you, the shareholders, for the market as well. What we will be accomplishing out of this major contract is huge. One thing that I must point out on these things, this is actually the MOU that we announced, the second MOU that we announced back in April, by the way, April, May, Frank, okay?
2019.
But yeah, but the one point that I would like to make, remember we were telling imminent. My apologies. COVID-19 has impacted us. There's been a CEO change in the duration of the thing. We needed to fight and to get things done. We're now here. Really strong with this contract. We were shooting for less number of sites. We're now aiming for a commitment of 2,000 sites. There is potential room to grow, but it's a massive game-changing announcement that we just did. We're completely changing the company. We had an objective of build or have contracts for 200 sites for the next 36 months. We're now January 2021. We're done. Our objective is almost met. So we will need to reset objective that will be even more aggressive, and we've got something that we're in discussion now to grow that numbers, Frank.
And I must say, I mean, thank you, Francis, for crediting my assistance, but it's really hats off to Francis because I think he fostered that relationship with Orange. I think a lot of this network as a service was his brainchild, shall we say, or his idea. And things on timing. These are big contracts, big companies, big projects, and they take time. And I think we were giving an indication that things were underway. People always want to see it tomorrow, but we always had the view that it was moving forward. And that, again, credit to well, not just Francis, but the team as well in building the relationship and the credibility with Orange to see this one through to final signing.
Thanks.
And an increase, a vast increase in the number of sites.
Okay, well, let's deal with, because we get a lot of investor questions. I certainly get a ton of emails, text messages, phone calls, etc. So this is the second contract that we've announced with Orange, right? We had announced last year, October, a contract for Cameroon for 122 sites with an option of 150 additional sites. So for a total of 272 sites. And now we've announced this much larger contract with Orange for 2,000 sites in DRC. So why don't we just deal with the Cameroon one first, and then we'll come back to DRC. Can you give us an update as to where we are on, in that process with Cameroon and Orange?
Okay, I'll start and let Jim continue. First of all, if you look at the two contracts, one for 200, the other one for 2,000. So why can't we have a similar contract for Cameroon? First, the population is really not the same. The penetration rate is higher. There's 45 million people to connect only in DRC. So that 2,000 might grow, but in Cameroon, it's somewhat limited. Going back to Cameroon now. So we had the contract signed in September. We announced it in October, but we were in a halted mode, as you all know. We announced it in October. Since then, there has been a lot of milestone reached, including the incorporation of our subsidiary in Cameroon, which has been completed 2 weeks ago. We have spent time also to define the bill of quantity. So what are the different site categories? And we've worked extremely hard in defining all site GPS coordinates, the population and everything, and just address it properly. And it's only a few weeks back, and up to now, we're just cutting POs. We will get the material in country to start building them. So everything is being done. We're signing contracts with our major suppliers, system integrator, satellite company, power company. By the way, power, we already said so. It will be for Cameroon, it will be Clear Blue Tech. You all know that. So everything is on track, and we have a certain number of weeks to deliver. We'll keep you posted of these delivery. When the site go live, we'll tell you, because it will be a celebration for us, for you, for everybody. So Jim, do you want to add any comments to this?
Well, you know, we, I suppose from the financing side, I mean, financing is critical to this. I think Francis and I have both talked extensively about the importance of having our ducks in a row and our things organized to bring that financing. I started doing some work on this not long after the MOU was signed. And, you know, we had to do a lot of work around who had the appetite for the financing. We can talk a bit about the DRC later, but, you know, the scope of Cameroon being what it was, and a relatively small contract, meant that we were limited really in who we could speak to. But we reached agreement with a few local banks in country. And shortly after that agreement was signed in September, we had offers on the table. And as Francis said, there's lots of conditions we had to meet, one of which was establishing the entity. That was no small task, and other things. So it's all kind of working in train, and we're very close on signing more things there. And I think as those happen, we'll announce. And as Francis said, when that first site goes live, and NuRAN's done it before, so they know what that's like. But when that first site goes live, we'll be talking about that and informing people in a big way.
Okay, so why don't we lead then into the DRC contract that was announced on Monday? We get a lot of questions with respect to that, and obviously one of them being how do you finance that contract? So you sort of already started to talk about it with Cameroon. Why don't we talk a little bit about it in DRC, which is a much larger contract in a much larger country?
Well, in effect, we're becoming a mobile network operator, if you will. And so this is similar to raising money for those kinds of networks. There's a few things that make this particularly attractive. One is the fact that we're funding assets. So we're building infrastructure, and that gives creditors comfort. Another factor is we have a very strong customer in Orange. So very low risk on when it comes to income generation and so on. And then the third piece, which I think is a Francis feature or something that he pushed for, was this guaranteed minimum payment. And what that means is the risk is greatly reduced on the income stream. And there's really a significant amount of funding available for projects like this, not only with local banks who are well funded and know the country risk, know Orange as a customer, but there's also development funds with what we're doing in power and green energy, and just international development initiatives, which are all about connecting people that don't have access. And this is a global challenge, but it's one that we're meeting. So and the last thing, I suppose, is the scale of the DRC project being what it is, which is probably about a $50 million US capital expenditure program. It greatly expands the universe of funders that we can talk to. And so we're right in the process now of meeting with those, sharing the story, and structuring now that we have the detail of the agreement itself.
And we've received term sheet for a smaller number of site already, Jim. So
Yes,
so to
that's
say.
worth mentioning too. And we're leveraging relationships that we have in Cameroon as well, and that we will plan to leverage across the sub-Saharan region.
So by the way, I think I will switch IR guy. I will put Jim as our IR person. Look, he's really good on the marketing side, explaining all those things, Frank.
Could never be.
Thank you. Okay, well, so it's safe to say then, Jim, that these financing objectives that we have at the local level really don't impact NuRAN as the public entity that people are buying and selling shares in on a daily basis.
I wouldn't go that far, because the corporation does have to stand behind these financing agreements. Okay, so I mean, one of the things that is helping that effort greatly is what we're doing on the convertible debentures and the forbearance agreement and all of those things. We'll be getting people on in more detail, but we do as a corporation need to stand behind those contracts. But you're right. There's really because of the assets, because of the income stream and so on, there's a lot of localized finance and security that's available and allows us to fund the project without taking, we're not taking risk at the corporate level.
And if I may add a little bit to what Jim is saying, the BOOT type structure that we're building, I'll explain it. I think, Frank, you have a question about this coming from different investor. This allowing to set up a minimum guaranteed amount that secures the whole thing. So when you go after financing, it's just another level of risk mitigation factor for the banks to come and play with us, because most of it is almost secured in terms of how we structure the deal thus far.
Yeah.
And when you enter these discussions, having Orange as your partner, obviously that's a door opener, one would think.
It's what we have proposed, and what we've done with Orange is a game-changing type structure. So it all started back in November 2019 when I met Hervé Souquet, the former CTIO of Orange. He's now moved into a different part of Orange, and I was telling Hervé, what if we finance? And Hervé started being excited, and a 10-minute meeting ended up in an hour-and-a-half meeting. I told about this in former video we've done, but Hervé was telling me, Francis, okay, but at some point we want to own the infrastructure. So what can you do for me? Then we started scratching our head. Blah, blah, blah. So we came out with this fantastic idea to get this BOOT format. We call it the NAS hybrid model, as there is a transfer, an asset transfer in the duration of the contract midterm. Actually, it will change. It will vary from one contract to another, but Orange was extremely excited to get to that level of involvement with NuRAN to end off these assets. And even if we end off these assets, we continue to support, maintain. So we are paid for the full 10 years because we need to maintain these assets, maintenance and repair and everything that will be ours, the satellite bandwidth, everything will be paid for by NuRAN and operate by NuRAN, but paid for by Orange in this revenue share deal, actually, Frank.
Okay, well, can we talk a little bit about anticipated payback periods for each site? Is this something that we can comment on? Because we certainly get a lot of questions with respect to that as well.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of ways to look at it. I'll talk to you about the way we plan, and then I suppose there's the backup of our contingency. But essentially, what we look at is the revenue that's going to be generated by each site. And we do that based on geomarketing information and other data that we've received from Orange, in fact, that tells us the population covered by each site. We then take a penetration rate for that, and we're using a penetration rate of below 20%. So that means we're assuming less than 20% of the covered population will take up the service, which is a very low and conservative estimate. We then take an average revenue per user, or ARPU, which again comes from Orange, and we multiply the two together, and we come up with revenue, the gross revenue for the site, which some costs come off of, and then it's shared. And that assumption is that is above the guaranteed minimum. And based on our planning, again, which is conservative, but we think realistic, because we're going to have a range of sites and a range of penetration rates and so on. But the payback per site is about 19 months. If we do the same calculation just using the minimum guarantee, and the minimum guarantee was set up to, one, cover the variable operating costs of the site. So it's things like the bandwidth and the power, which Francis mentioned, and maintenance and so on, but also the financing costs. But still, the payback on that net basis is about 60 months. So it's 5 years, half the term of the contract. But that's on a site that's just generating its minimum. And we've agreed with Orange that in that case, we might both agree that it's not a productive site, and we can redeploy that. And over the span of the DRC contract, which is a 40-month build-out program, we'll have time within that to know that some of the early sites may not be producing, and so we'll move them. We don't plan for that, but again, that's a bit of the risk mitigation in the contract.
Good point. Good point.
Okay, well, there's a number of sort of random questions. So, if we jump around, excuse me for that. But so, for example, on the installation front, does installation require any specialized skills, or, locals? Are the locals able to do this? Can they complete this work, et cetera? Can maybe comment on that a little bit, Francis, since you have a direct experience in that.
So that's all good. By the way, we have received a list of approved supplier by Orange to do that work. And through the list that we have received for both Cameroon and DRC, and it will be the same thing for other countries to come, we will need to do a selection of those who can support that. Yes, you need to have specialized skills in order to deliver those: telecom, power, civil works, and everything related also to site acquisition, site permitting, and everything. So it's a complex structure that we need to put in place. We will rely on local partners that are extremely strong. We will announce shortly which partner we have selected. It's almost done. We're signing the final contract this week. But these guys, yes, are specialized, and they can support all of the aspects that are that needed to be covered there. Plus, we are hiring local people. We've done 2 hirings in the last week, Jim, right? Mm-hmm. One called Charles Quadiu. He's based in Cameroon, actually. Charles will be our director of finance. He will be supporting Jim, revenue stream, legal, admin, everything aspect, and contractual aspect. And we also hire somebody named Badi Abdallah. Badi will be our operation director for African operation. But on top of this, we will be hiring local people to manage and follow what our different suppliers, like the one I was talking about, are supposed to do. So we will not be working from Quebec or UK, watching at these guys the way they do. We need to be on the ground and make it work. Plus all the distribution that Jim was talking about earlier.
Okay, and then why don't we talk about maintenance a little bit? Francis, again, in your past experience, how these sites operate, because We've installed sites in many countries.
Mhm.
Why don't we talk a little bit about maintenance? What anticipation do you have for the requirement to maintain these sites? Do they break down? Are there moving parts? Are there things that we're concerned with, et cetera? Or based on your past experience, what level of support do we need there?
Yeah, Frank, NuRAN solution never break. So I don't know why you're asking the question. No, I'm joking. So the same players that I was talking about will also be in a supportive mode for curative and preventive maintenance. Based on past experience, we know that between 5 and 10% of the site need to be visited for repair, not only for a NuRAN solution. Sometimes it could be a solar panel or a battery or any cabling that breaks. Some other time it will be other components to the site, but we know that 10% of the site will need to be visited for curative maintenance. We also have another routine of having these sites visited, depending on the size and the distance, visited once or twice yearly, and those will be managed by our team. We are setting up a network operating center. What you are used to. Everybody watch a NASA film where they have all these screens lined up that look at the everything that's going on. So we will have something similar that will track down alarms, everything that's going on the network. So we will operate exactly the same way. So yes, we have a maintenance program through our own people and the different partners that I mentioned earlier, Frank.
Okay. This is a sort of random question as well, but we're
Not
definitely worth
related.
addressing.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any resistance from locals on this process? I mean, I can't imagine we would, but
The answer is completely the opposite, Frank.
that's what I would
See,
figure.
people have not been connected for years. Now it's kind of uh, look, they win lottery, right? So no, the government are into it. United Nation, the Sustainable Development Goals, blah blah blah, that have been put together and signed off by a lot of countries. GSMA is pushing a lot on those things, and of course the operator themselves. These guys, it's a big win for them as well, because they win because they don't have to invest a single penny. They are fulfilling their regulator license obligation, so no more penalties to be paid to the regulator. Regulator is happy because everybody's connected. Government is happy because now they have more productivity. They have more bigger GDPs coming because they're creating local economy. So I can go for like this for hours, Frank, with all the positive impact that a connected society is. We change our motto, talking about digital inclusion, one connection at a time. It's real. And it's real, and it has a major impact in these people's life. And this is not only a business, it's a game-changing initiative by us, by Orange, by everybody.
Well, which you've sort of commented on it, the social and environmental impact of what NuRAN does, and its commitment to sustainable development. You may want to just comment a bit further, but it's almost incredible to think that in 2021, that you have such an incredible amount of people around the globe that have no form of connectivity. I mean, here we are in a pandemic, and we all discuss how our habits have changed, where we're ordering things online rather than going to a bricks and mortar store, where we're getting our food online. Everything's happening online. And these people don't even have the most basic tools that we take for granted as a society. And how we expect them to advance their economies without these basic tools is almost unconscionable. So, do you want to comment any further on that sort of social environmental impact and your commitment to a sustainable development?
The Jim can comment as well. Jim is good at commenting on those
You're
two.
doing well, Francis. You're on a
Yeah,
roll. So.
but the green energy is, of course, a dramatic impact to what we're doing. The fact that we're not consuming much in terms of power, we can run those sites on solar panel and batteries. That's extremely important, and that was the challenge that needed to be overcome. There's no grid there. I don't know if you ever watch. And by the way, I do not remember the Netflix series, but there was one specific about the Republic of the Congo. It's called Widow, actually. Look at those. Look at one or two of those episodes. Seriously, you will see exactly what we're talking about. Those roads that like bumpy, and in some cases you need to build bridges to bring the tower to the site. It's as crazy as this, Frank. So you can imagine that that we're bringing to the site power, telecom. So people out of a sudden, and a lot of those people have cell phones already, but they need to walk for hours to get connectivity. So what we're creating is a micro economy, a kind of a micro ecosystem. They can now sell their agricultural harvesting. They can deal with nearby community. They can contact their own family that lives in larger thing. But on top of this, there's more to that. Mobile money, Frank. We've talked about this in previous PRs and so forth. E-health, so they can probably now have access through their cell phone to a doctor to discuss with somebody about potential health problem they have, and so it's all of this. So if you look at the 17 sustainable development goals that have been set by UN, we are in, or we answer to 11 of those. We can maybe do another video only on this particular aspect because we could talk for hours. GDP growth, a connected 100K people connected in a country have an impact of 1.6% on GDP based on GSMA analysis and survey they've done thus far. So it's huge, the impact that a connected society have. Jim, do you want to add up something to that?
Well, yeah, I think, I mean, it's a worldwide problem. It's a global problem. It's a global issue where every country is trying to address this, the digital divide, it's been called in the past, but, the lack of connectivity. I think what, I'm a fairly recent joiner to the team, but what I realized about NuRAN's, one, their technology, which, as we say, works over satellite, very bandwidth efficient. There's other clever things that allow you to really keep the cost down in a local area call. So there's IP, there's real IP supporting this. But also the cost of deploying these sites is a fraction of a traditional mobile site. And there's been a lot of talk in the past about small cell technology, but the NuRAN technology brings it all together: the tower, the power, the connectivity, and the base stations, which, by the way, can be provisioned to solve and work in different frequencies and so on without changing the whole piece of kit out. So it's those things that come together, and now you've got the global problem, sustainability, as you mentioned, pandemic, people focusing on online, and it's really the perfect storm in a way for what we're doing.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And by the way, very inspiring, the last statements you guys made. I'm involved. I'm an active investor, involved in a lot of different, with a lot of different companies for years. And the one thing that always stood out for me with NuRAN was this aspect. It's very rare you can find a company that you can say that, you're bringing this social good to the world like NuRAN is. And I'm just pleased that we can actually have numbers now that, entice investors, not just from the social impact point of view, but also from the dollar and cents, which, drives share prices. So I'm glad that you're sort of able to mesh the two and achieve both in an effective manner. So leads me to possibly the last question on sort of DRC, Cameroon, or other sites, etc. And I think I know the answer to this, but obviously I'll leave the floor to you guys. But customer adoption rates, like, what do you anticipate in terms of customer adoption rates? And, what about marketing plans? I mean, it would seem to me that, when you bring connectivity to a place that had no connectivity, you don't have to exactly do too much marketing to get people on board. But, for those that, ask the question, why don't we just address that anyway?
So a customer is a customer, Frank, by the way. Yes, you need to do promotion and marketing as well. So every time we're going to launch a site, there's a big marketing promo that will be done by both Orange and us, because we will take over the distribution of airtime to the site, having a setup of agent. Sometimes we will work with locals to get to set up an agent to sell airtime, because everything is done digitally. Jim, you can probably comment to this thing, but on top of this is something that is not calculated in our revenue, but we get commissioned by Orange to sell this airtime. So it's going to be another set of revenue that will be piling up on top of this. The penetration rate that we have used is below 20%, as 20%, as Jim said.
Sounds
but
low. Sounds low to me.
It is really low. It's
just
more
hyper-conservative here,
or 30% usually that we get to these sites, but we wanted to be conservative in our business case evaluation. So we went really low on that one. We cut the peer in two, actually, to just calculate our profitability or our ROI. Sorry, now it's the French speaker that comes out. So our return on investment, if we want to have a good calculation and make sure that we have a risk mitigation factor in the process, we decided to turn it low. We did the same for the ARPU as well, Frank. But if we go full steam, the revenue that would come from an Orange contract like this one could be much, much higher. But we announced something that we think is fair. We think we can achieve more, but let's see. But we will do a massive marketing in partnership with Orange to get the most out of it in terms of number of subs, ARPU, and so forth. So that's about it.
Yeah, and I think what one of the side benefits of bringing connectivity is that you don't know what's going to come from it, but it inspires business. It brings the things that Francis talked about, and so you could have a mobile phone booth, for example, where people come and they can use that tower, and it starts to attract people, and you get business developing on the back of that, and all those kinds of things. So as Francis said, we've got a contract that pays for itself, and we mitigated the risk, but there's always upside to it, and that will be, I suppose, the next step is focusing on bringing those benefits to the regions we're working in.
Okay, guys. Well, listen, we're going to start wrapping up soon here because the video is getting a little bit long, but a couple more things. So you've now announced Cameroon with Orange. You've announced DRC with Orange. It seems like you've got a pretty good relationship building with Orange. Can we expect more with Orange in other countries, other opportunities? And apart from Orange, are there other opportunities that you're working on? Comment as much as you can, while respecting, obviously the forward-looking statements that, you could be making.
Yeah. Frank, we have a really good momentum with Orange. The French fact is also not negligible, actually. The connection between a Quebec-based company and Orange is we're acting like cousins. Okay, so yes, there's a massive momentum. We're in discussion and proposal stage for an additional 4 countries. Orange has 18 countries in operation in MEA, Middle East and Africa, that we can look after. There's a demand to grow their subscriber base and to reach the rural. Talking about other MNOs, maybe I can do a point on MTN, because that 2 years ago, 2011, around November, we were at Africacom, and we also announced that we were teaming up with some players for MTN. But until now, We're still in discussion with these guys. No rollouts have been made with the people that were awarded a position with MTN, but even then, it's still ongoing. We're also in discussion in, I think, Frank, almost 22 countries in Africa now with different operators from tier 1 to tier 2s in such proposal. We made a dramatic shift. We switched from selling products to saying, guys, we're investing, zero investment, massive outcome. What do you want? And then everybody pick up the phone and say, yes, here's how many sites I would like to have. Boom, boom, boom. We do our analysis, but it takes time. You saw how much time it took to get the DRC deal signed. Even if it's a free deal for them, they want to do the assessment properly. They want to make things right and to make the proper decision. So we're on everybody's lips now, and there will be more to come, not only in terms of Orange, new country, but a lot of new players will come in as well.
Jim, you want to comment on that, or?
It's you know, I mean, what Francis says is right. You know, there's lots of opportunity. I know several of the operators in the region. It's you know, I think the only thing holding us back, as we said, that, you know, the conditions have kind of come together for the demand for this service. It's really how fast we can run. And we're doing it in a, you know, a planned way. The financing is important. The people are important, as you said, the staffing and the operations. So those are the things that we're really focusing on now. But yeah, there's tremendous potential, and not just in Africa, but elsewhere globally. So there's definitely more to come.
Yeah, let me touch a word on what you last said. Africa is the hot place for rural connectivity, like what we're doing today. But Frank, we're starting now on Latin America as well. So there has been activities ongoing as we speak. We were in a show not really long ago, talking to different operator in Latin America, and we are doing the same for APAC with our people over there. So once we have a few countries kicked off and we can demonstrate good results, I think Latin America will jump in this, as well as APAC. So it's a worldwide need that we need to fill, and we are in the sweet spot with the technology we have and the way we are addressing those concerns. So there's more to come, definitely, Frank.
Yesterday, I got a call from a shareholder asking me how many employees or how many people were employed by NuRAN. And Francis, I called you immediately and you told me it was 16, including yourself and Jim, obviously, which sounds lean and mean to me. It's certainly from the point of view of, you know, the amount of cash that's needed to operate this company. Do you see, like, going into Latin America as an example and, you know, having a focus there as well as Africa, like, do you see a big expansion? Do you guys see a big expansion on that number? Or do you think that you're going to continue to stay sort of this lean and mean company and still able to achieve these goals?
We are working out through the process as we speak to see what the demand in terms of HR will be over the next couple of months and years. Actually, this contract with Orange is changing the picture. So we will need to do an assessment of what the needs are, but we want to remain lean and mean. Hence the reason for working with partners as consultant. Sometimes you pay a little bit more than having your own employee, but it's easy to renegotiate year after year and then reduce your costs. So we will remain lean and mean. I see potentially 10, 15 employees more down the road rapidly, but not more than that. We want to maintain a lean company and to be as efficient as possible with the structure we have. So we were having this discussion this morning, Frank. You're asking a question that is underway to be answered within the next couple of days. Jim, I, and Gael are working extremely hard to put us in the right direction and to make the right moves, actually, on that note.
Okay, so last question, and I know the answer already, but I'll ask the question and let you guys address the answer. I'm getting a lot of questions with respect to where we stand with the convertible debenture. So, where do we stand with the convertible debenture?
We will give shareholders an update on this soon next week, but we're getting to where we wanted to go. So it's going well. We have had a lot of support for the debenture holders. Conversion has started heavily, and we will give an update on the exact status of where the company stands in terms of its debt. But the position we will be in starting next week, seriously, it gives Jim ammunition to cut deals with banks, local banks in Africa, and give us room to breathe in terms of the in-depthness of the company. Jim, you want to add up to something? I think I've pretty much covered it.
Okay, well, that's great. So listen, guys, I think we covered a lot today. I know that shareholders will be happy with being able to listen and get a lot of this information. I'll probably get a lot more questions that we can address in a future video. But I just why don't we finish off with this? What's next for NuRAN? Give us any sort of indication as to what we can expect from NuRAN next. Jim, maybe you want to start?
I think next, start to watch out for us bringing sites online, proving our operating model, proving our profitability. Watch for the financing, some of the partners that we'll be working with on that front. I know there's lots going on business development. So some new markets, and new team members and so on. So it's going to be, I mentioned at the beginning, these are big projects, these are big agreements. They take time to play themselves out, and that's why we've got a plan to do that. So I guess, I'd say this, it may not be Francis' view, but we trust our investors to be patient. We'll keep you informed as best we can, but and inform you on the path we're taking, and as we reach milestones on that path. Francis, do you want to add?
Nothing more to say. We will be on time for our audited numbers as well as of the end of February. We are planning the AGM soon as well, so everything will be disclosed extremely soon. So I thought that's something that Jim would have said. So Jim cut the grass under my feet. So, but yes, this is what you can expect from us. We will act diligently, giving corporate updates on a timely manner, making sure that everybody's happy. Frank, you know that we have marketing on the stock ongoing as well. I'll be extremely available to talk the stock in the next few weeks, actually, because we have a fantastic story. Not only now, we had a fantastic story, but we're now making it happen. So bear with us.
Francis Letourneau, CEO, Quebec City, Canada. Jim Bailey, CFO, London, England. Frank Candido, Montreal, Canada. You can reach us at any time. You have our emails, you have our phone numbers. We'll answer your questions to the best of our ability. Thank you once again for this latest episode of NuRAN Wireless Inc. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.